Joining me now to discuss this further is New York Congresswoman and the House Ways and Means Committee member Claudia Tenney. Congresswoman, thanks for joining us today. Do you have any sense that there's some movement here, or do we expect this shutdown to go on much longer?
Well, we were hoping it would be done sooner. The Democrats want to inflict as much pain as possible on American families. The Republicans want to continue with their levels of spending. By the way, the Democrats and Chuck Schumer have voted on these funding levels with continuing resolutions 13 times before. They voted, I believe, 7 times now. There's going to be another vote Tuesday. We're concerned, obviously, that we're going to continue to have issues with our troops being paid. Republicans have, signed on to many bills that would guarantee that our troops get paid, our Homeland Security officials get paid, our air traffic controllers. But Democrats like Chuck Schumer have famously said, we're winning this now because the American families are suffering, and they think that they're going to call uncle on us. They've heard as long as we'll wait until planes fall from the sky before we stop. And I think that just shows the bad leadership on the Democratic side, the weakness of New York City leadership that are actually controlling the entire nation of Democrats on their side. Their leaders are all from New York City, all afraid of the very far left, which is gaining support, obviously with the advent of likely winner of the New York City mayoral race, Zohran Mamdani, self-proclaimed socialist, Marxist-derived type of guy, anti-Semitic, anti-police, incarceration. Nobody's guilty of anything, and promising the world a socialist, utopia to people who are naive, and they're worried about that. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is a direct threat to Chuck Schumer. Because of this controversy in New York City and this Democratic Socialists of America kind of uprising, you're seeing now even Hakeem Jeffries has a primary challenge from the far left. So they're all about politics over the people that they claim to represent. And it doesn't matter how much they hurt the American people. They're going to continue this. And of course, they're planning a huge rally in D.C. to bring their Antifa and their No Kings rally people to come in and talk about more socialism, more of the things that Americans reject. And what's interesting, Rich, is that it's almost 70% now of the Americans' population don't want the shutdown, and 65% of Democrats persistently do not want the Democrats to shut the government down.
The Democrats still aren't voting for what's known as a clean CR. It's basically opening the government for a short term so that you guys can negotiate. But there is an item in the Wall Street Journal saying that the Senate Majority Leader, John Thune, is asking the White House to sort of avoid some of the more, I guess, painful things that a government shutdown can do, mass layoffs, sharp cuts to government assistance. The White House does have some leeway. Remember, the Obama administration put fencing around monuments and did what it had to do to say, look at what the Republicans are doing when they shut down the government. Thune is asking the White House to lay off a little when it comes to those effects. What do you think?
Look, I think it's interesting that under Obama and when the Democrats control the White House, their mission, just like the Democrats in the House and Senate, Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, is to inflict as much pain on the American people to move them to their side. We don't operate like hostage taking in that way on the Republican side, but we are facing what we're spending $7 trillion a year and only taking in $5 trillion a year with a 37 trillion and growing deficit in the United States, which is dangerous. It's existential. And we have that $5 trillion is the most we've ever taken in the history of the United States in terms of what we bring in through the Treasury and IRS, and even including the tariffs that President Trump has used to actually to help our WIC recipients and others, found a way to help them. But I think what my concern is on this, and what I think that the president is looking at and what we've suggested, there are a number of programs on the federal side, including jobs, that are not authorized, but they're still being paid. The mission of those federal jobs is over, but there are still people sitting in those jobs. We're looking at places where we can, fill those gaps and make those cuts without harming the economy and the growth and everything that the working families tax cuts is bringing to the economy.
Congresswoman, we do have some breaking news we have to get to. I'm going to have to cut you up there. I'm so sorry, Congresswoman Claudia Tenney. Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon.
Hey, it's Will Cain. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Cain podcast for full episodes right now.